Welcome, Errol Kerr, to 10-6 Life Factors. Errol Kerr is Vice President and Treasurer of the Jamaica Organization of New Jersey, short for the Passaic Chapter. He is also the executive member of the Paterson School District Board of the NAACP. He's a member of the Paterson Library Museum Board, and he's also a member of the City of Paterson Education Fund. Mr. Kerr is a Jamaican and is very active in the Jamaican diaspora. I'm going to have Mr. Kerr explain some of the details in terms of his roles, especially about the Paterson Education Fund. Welcome, Mr. Errol Kerr, to 10-6 Life Factors.
Thank you, Dr. Brown. Well, the Paterson Education Fund is a supportive group formed to support the Paterson Public Schools district. Since 1991, the Paterson Public School district was taken over by the state, and the Paterson Education Fund was formed as a supportive group that came in to support how we develop our curriculum, how we move our district forward. They were also involved in going down to Trenton to make representation to the state on behalf of the district. A couple weeks ago, we were granted back local control after 30 years of state control. So, you know, we have to give credit to these groups who have worked so hard, and Paterson Education Fund was one of the premier groups that supported us and worked with us to make us be able to get back local control of our district.
Very, very interesting. And so I just want to kind of explain what our series is about. With your diverse background, I am sure you've come across people of all different genre and their perceptions, you know, what drives them and so on. And 10-6 Life Factors want to explore individuals' perception, their drives, their motivation. And I'm sure with your diverse experience, we will learn a lot about how you see life, how you view life, and what we can do to improve ourselves. So my first question to you is, what is your perception of life in general? Or, you know, or what is your perception of your whole life as you lived it?
Well, that is a simple question, but a very, very important question on life. To me, life is life is a collection of lived experiences. Some of those experiences can be predetermined by where you came from, your family structure, and some of that can also be determined by the society, your community, your culture. However, what is important about life experiences is what you do with the opportunity you have to shape that piece of your life. I recall growing up, I grew up in more or less a communal structure where my mother lived right one side, my aunt lived, and you know, my cousins, my aunt, my cousins, we're all living together in a communal setting. So there was a certain amount of love, there's a certain amount of support, there's a certain amount of understanding. However, there wasn't great wealth. You know, we were poor people. Our neighbor who was living next to us, who was a little bit more affluent, so to speak, who had more material stuff, their kids would not be permitted to play with us or associated with us because they believed that, you know, they were better off. But it's not about where you come from, the influences of your parents, but where you are determined to go with your piece that you're in control of. And life is about what you do with the opportunities that you have in your hands, where you're willing to take it. So, I'm here today, not because of what those persons decided we should be, but because of what I decided that I'm going to use the opportunity that I'm given to make of my life. So
Very, very
that is
interesting. So it's not so much, as I said, where you started, it's where you decide that where you want to head to, where your goals will
exactly.
be in order to, move from that starting point in your life. You talk also about communal living, or, that community, that sense of community. Um, how do you find meaning in life? Or what do we need to do to find meaning and purpose in our life?
Meaning and purpose in life, it's about sharing. And it's important that we acknowledge the potency or the importance of sharing our lives with others. Um, if you were given all the riches in this life and you were isolated with all the riches that you have in this life on an island by yourself, with nobody to share that riches with, what satisfaction you think you would get from all of what you have? There would be absolutely none. But soon as you have an opportunity to share what you have, impacting the lives of people, making it better, bringing joy to people's life who are less fortunate, who are less able, that's when you get the satisfaction. So sharing is supposed to be the anchor of our life. It gives our lives meaning, because when you're not touching somebody, you're really not really living. You live your life when you can touch somebody, make theirs better than what it would have been if you were not there sharing and embracing them at that level.
Very, very interesting. So the concept of sharing is what gives meaning and purpose in our life, and I can see that evolving from all the different roles that you engage in, especially with your the Jamaican Organization of New Jersey, the humanitarian approach that's involved in terms of sharing and caring, touching someone's life. So with that, I'm sure it's easy for you to explain to us, how does the work you do inspire a sense of meaning in the lives of people that you help, based on that sharing concept, based on that communal background that you're coming from, that sense of community. How does the work that you do inspire a sense of meaning?
I cannot explain to you the personal joy that comes to one's heart when you do something that creates an opportunity for somebody, and that person blossoms in ways that they would not be able to if you did not render that assistance. It's like planting a flower. You watch it grow and grow and just bud and bloom in its glory. That's what it is. That's the joy it gives when you help and you make somebody's life become the beacon that if you had not done what you did, it would not be the life that it had become. So it's this idea that you help, and by helping, it make you a human. because we are here for a purpose. We are here to help each other.
So
And
that
when you're, when,
interesting. So that interconnection,
yes,
I like the concept of helping someone to bloom or to bud. For 10 6 life factors, I use a butterfly as my symbol. A
right,
caterpillar
yes,
transforming into a butterfly. And you're saying that in order to inspire others and find a sense of meaning, is through that sharing concept where you can see, it's as if you're watering a flower. You plant something and you watch it grow and bud and blossom into this beautiful thing.
yes. That's
And so,
exactly the concept. Yes.
good. And so that's how you see the sense of sharing and helping each other. Previously, you talk about at some point when we were talking, you talk about economic principle. You also talk about this concept of optimum utility. I want you to use those two concepts to explain this question or your perception of this question. How can we take control of our lives to become sober from materialistic or what we call superficial type of societal ideals? Um, and do you even agree that we live in a materialistic society? So, how would you explain all of this with your concept of the economic principle or what you call the optimum utility?
Yeah. Well, there is no question that our present society and the society in which we live in is driven by material wealth, and in that there's a lot of excess. Commerce drives what we do, how we do it, and why we do it. Therefore, we don't operate any longer on the basis of need, but we operate on the principle of wants. And the whole idea of optimum utility, and it's an economic principle that you are satisfied. And I use the example of you're in the desert and you are extremely thirsty. You are burning up inside, you're dehydrated, and you're given a glass of water. That first glass that you're given, the second glass would never meet the personal satisfaction that glass that the first glass that you get, because the first glass meet the definition of optimum satisfaction. You're burning up, you get it, and it feels so good because it feels and it hits that spot, as we would say. The second glass, it's okay, but it's not the first glass. So the thing is, we need to look at life and not to be on the edge or the fringes of the excesses, but kind of get to the center where the need is greatest. Let's look at how we can use what we have
Hmm.
and make life better, not only for ourselves, but for the people around us, our community, because while you have that extra glass, there is somebody out there who has nothing. So
Yes.
we need to kind of, I'm not telling people, I'm not here to say, well, you should not be living your life of luxury. But all I'm saying, it's what it is. You're not helping yourself, you're not helping your community, you're not helping those if you are overindulging.
And so it's clear then that you agree that we live in a materialistic society, and for us to be inspirational to others, for us to find meaning and purpose to others, you're going back to that sense of community, versus this individualistic approach to life where we're always gathering things and we're gathering material excess and thinking that this is what society taught us, this is what is ideal. But in the end, as you said, you have that extra glass of water. It is not going to meet that personal satisfaction as the first one that you have. And if we're really attuned to others' need and others' feelings, there's 10 other people that could do benefit from that second glass that you have. And so that's how we should, kind of reflect on life then, and
Right.
and take into consideration that it's not just about ourselves, but it's also about others. Yes.
Right. Yes, that's totally the concept here, that we see ourselves not separate and apart, but part of a larger package. And we are interconnected, and when we start break out on our own, then we are not serving the purpose of humanity.
Errol, you could be a sociologist, because that is that is actually some of the principle and the theoretical perspective of a sociologist, about life itself and how we should live. So with that abundance of knowledge and perception of how we can find meaning, if you're talking to a group of a diverse group of, it could be boys and girls, it could be people within my peer group and your peer group, what would you say then are the power dynamics or the dynamics that are working against their goals in to find a meaningful life? And this is, you can look at it within the backdrop of, we're agreeing that we're living in a materialistic society, and individuals in society are on this journey to acquire wealth. So with that said, what are some of the power dynamics then that are working against our goals, our individual goals, to find this sense of purpose and this meaningful life?
Well, we cannot escape the influences of society. And, as you know, and we all know, that there is stratification in our system. So you have, we are stratified based on our race, we are stratified based on our ethnicity, we are stratified based on our gender, we are stratified based on our communal kind of where we come from.
Mm-hmm.
Important thing though, Sona, is that we have to look beyond these artificially created barriers and start realizing that there's a reason why they're there. There is a reason. The society is structured that you have to feel good about yourself. And the only way you're going to feel good about yourself is because you feel that you're better than. And that's the reason why you find people, buy cars they can't afford, buy homes they can't afford, because it gives them a sense of achievement, a sense of better than ism, so to speak.
Mm-hmm.
So the idea is that we need to stop internalizing those artificial stimuli, and then start looking to ourselves for deeper meaning than what is given to us by society. It, it, um, should a man get more pay than a woman for doing the same exact job? you know, should an African American be shot down in the street because he's an African American, and there is no justice coming behind that? You know, should my water be poisoned because I come from this community as opposed to somebody who comes from another community? These are the questions that we need to ask ourselves. And the power dynamics are right there. You know,
Yes.
if you're a woman, you're treated differently. If you're a black person, you're treated differently. The problem though, son, is how do we internalize that stuff? Because sometimes we internalize it and we tell ourselves, look, yes, I'm a woman, so you know, the male is, you know, supposed to be in charge. Oh, I'm a black person, so the white person, you know, they're better than. So we internalize those messages. And when we do, we start doing the things exactly as they want it to be done. So we have to break out of that and realize, look, if you start operating on the principle of humanity, we're all human beings. And God has given us the same abilities, the
Yes.
same abilities, natural abilities. Yes, we all have it. So if you see yourself, and we can achieve anything if we are given the same opportunities. Why we are not achieving? We are not given the same opportunities. Our schools are broken down, dilapidated buildings. The other people's schools are 21st century buildings, and they can deliver. They have the system to deliver the best education. So why don't you think that the kids are going to come out learning more? They're going to come because they're afforded more. So what we need not to do is to internalize the artificial stimuli that we are receiving, and realizing that, look, when you go into that meeting, you are as good as the next person.
Very interesting, very insightful, Errol. I appreciate those excellent points that you make about the power dynamics that's working against us, as you said, in terms of all the different category, the gender, you know, our racial category that we're placing. And on top of that, you're telling us that we actually believe that. And
We
because we
do.
believe these things, we operate within that model. And it is so hard for us to get out of it. But here you are sharing these insights. And I'm sure when, you know, someone watch this video, they will kind of, you know, a light bulb will come on over their head and say, oh, okay. Because, you know, what we're trying to do is to get ordinary people to reflect on their lives and to make them know, and you're giving us the such substance, such meat of information to go by. So you talk about community, you talk about you know, the materialistic aspects of society that influences us. You talk about the different stimuli that, you know, we internalized, and you know, all the dynamics that are against us. So who should we look to for guidance then? Because basically you're saying that society are influencing us in this kind of way, and the influence may seem highly negative. And we have, as individuals, have to operate as our own agents in order to kind of flush these, find meaning and purpose by flushing our system of these kind of superfluous aspects of society in order to create substance in our own lives. So we can, no man is an island, right? No man is an island,
Yes.
no man stands alone. So who or what should we look to for guidance, for in our thought process on a daily basis, and to kind of be action oriented, community oriented, in order to find sense and meaning? Is it God? Is it the government? Who is it for you, Errol?
I have to look to a higher force than myself for direction and guidance. God, the Bible, I don't look to religion. I'm a Christian, but I'm not a religious person. When I talk about religious, I mean, you live your life based on what the doctrine or the dogma of a particular religion
Okay.
dictates. Because when you look at, if we say the Bible, what is the fundamental underpinnings of the Bible?
Hmm.
Under the larger question and the underpinning of the Bible is love. For God so loved the world that he gave. That's two important things. When you love, you're gonna give. All right. He gave his only one. He has one, and he gave his only son. Whosoever believe on him, the principle of love, should never die but have eternal life. So that's what I look to. Now, if you listen to the the messages that is coming from the pulpits today,
Hmm.
it's all about um, prosperity. We hear the whole business of prosperity gospel. So you no longer hear the message of love. It's a message of wealth.
Yes.
And that is an offshoot of what the society is dictating and how the society is impacting the church. It should be the other way around. The church should be the agent that impacts the society, but they have vacated that position. And now the influence of the material society is now so heavy on the church that they're denying the truth and subjecting themselves to this old oppressive doctrine of materialism. And,
Hmm.
and that's a problem. But the church, the Bible, look to God because he's the same person um, who delivered, and if you believe the Bible, who delivered the three Hebrew boys who were placed in that fire. He's the same God that we have today. So we look to God. We look to the Bible. We look to truth because God is truth. And if
Yes.
you look to the truth, you'll find God.
Excellent. Excellent. And so I like the point that you make about how the church should be the major influence, a part of the guiding factor for us as individuals in society. But if anything, it so happened that the societal influence, if anything, overpower or overcome, or there more emphasis then on
Yeah.
societal values within the church versus the values of giving love, caring, sharing, and
Yes.
supporting each other. And for people to have that sense of belonging. If anything, they're, as you said, they are kind of crusading for wealth and
Right.
prosperity. And
Right.
so look to the Bible. That's what you're saying, that should be your
Yes.
guiding force.
Yes.
Read the different scriptures. And you give the example of how our faith can be built through some of the stories. Like, you give the example of the Hebrew boys in terms of their
Yes.
faith, knowing that once you believe in the higher power, then we will have that sense of security then. Because what
And
I believe, and you can let me know your thoughts on this, is that we have this false sense of security about ourselves, thinking that our government or the law, previously you mentioned that all the different um, variables in terms of gender and race and sex that are some of the dynamics against us. And we want to believe that government will protect us. But we have seen that it has failed us. So government has failed us, the church has failed us. And so what we're left with is this book, the Bible, as our guiding principle and the foundation of it is love, giving love.
Love,
Yes?
love, yeah, yeah.
And you can
That's
expand
it.
on that if you have anything else to add to that.
Yeah, yeah. That's the core of the whole thing. But you would not know because of what you are hearing today. All right. You know, I hate to do this, Sona, but November 6th, we have an insurrection in this country, right? You have people overrun the capital
January
of
6th. January 6th.
January 6th, yes,
Mhm.
January 6th. People overran the capital of this country, the United States of America.
Mhm.
And these people went inside the capital, went inside the chambers of the House of Representatives, took over the chamber and did all kind of stuff. And when these guys took, they pray, they prayed, and I'm saying, you broke the law.
Yeah.
You broke the law, and in whose name have you done this?
Mhm.
I'm sure they're gonna tell you, listen, oh, we believe in freedom. We believe in the Bible, but the Bible never really directs you to do that.
Mhm.
The Bible, you mentioned the laws and government. Yes, the Bible teaches us to obey the laws of the land, obey the government. Yes,
Mhm.
but these people, in the name of religion, and remember now, you have these extreme people and I don't believe in extremes.
Mhm.
I don't believe right or left extreme either way, because I believe when you're out there, it's pretty dangerous. But
Mhm.
these people went there, and in the name of their beliefs, did that to the country. So it's pretty serious, and they'll tell you how much they love this country. But to me, that's not really love.
So
When you love when you love someone, when you love something, you protect it, you care for it, you nurture it, and you try to preserve it the best way you can.
excellent. And so we are the example that you provide about what happened on January 6th at the Capitol, with there are different names that they're using, the coup, terrorist invasion, insurrectionist, and so on. Their guiding principle is they're flawed, especially with the fact that they're basing it on religion. And so for someone watching this, we can see how we need guidance.
We
We
need
and for us to be pointing to say the book, the Bible, the scriptures in the Bible is one, it is probably the most important foundation that we can live on, um, and not become fanatics or religious fanatics, where we are guided into this I would say darkness about what life is, because there's no light there when you have to be, as you said, pursuing material wealth or pursuing material goals. Um, and so I appreciate the point about the scriptures as guiding principle. Go ahead.
Yes, but even in this time, you ask yourself the question: where is the voice of the church? You think that the church would come out in unison
Mm-hmm.
in condemnation to this kind of seditious act? You believe they would come out and say, no, no, we can't have this. This is not what the principle of the word of God says.
Mm-hmm.
You obey your government, you live by the laws of your country. You don't do that. We have not heard that. So you ask yourself the question, why we have not heard that? So what is the church doing? Is it really playing its vital function in our society, or is it abdicating its role and responsibility?
So it's time for us to look somewhere for guiding principles. And that's the
Yes,
message. And so with
yeah,
that, then, you, when you look using the example of the insurrectionist on the Capitol, and with all the terrible things that are happening in society, the experiences of Black people in this country or just around the world, basically. And then people are kind of doing this comparison of their experiences against each other. Black lives, white lives, the LGBT community have their own issues and so on. And it's as if we have to kind of sift through all of this to make sense. As you said, you know, you want to be compassionate to people, and they're saying, well, they pray before they while they're doing these vicious acts. And you're like, well, some of us draw our compassion in so many different ways. Should there be limits on our human compassion, especially based in light of all the different things? We're being tugged from one end to the other with all the different emotions that are out there. um, should there be limits? And where should we place our values, and how should our value function based on our compassion or the limits of our compassion? And and all the things that we think about in this world. What should we be more sensitive towards? I know it's a lot of points there, but I'm sure you can sift through it.
well, we need to be more, I think we are not compassionate enough. And being compassionate simply means that we extend our needs, our sympathies, our understanding, our empathy to other human needs. I think we're living at a time and age where it's, it's about me. I don't know if we're coming back to the me generation kind of stuff. It's about what I think, about what I want. It is so important. So I think, um, there should not be a limitation put on human compassion, because I tell you what, I have seen before, a dog fell into a between two buildings,
Mhm.
and the fire department came, and they spent about a good half a day figuring out how to get an animal from between those two buildings. That's compassion on an animal.
Mhm.
Why are we not extending that same kind of a compassion for our fellow human beings? So I don't think we should, but I think, we should be guided by values. And one of the values that I personally is guided by, I am guided by the value of love for my, family, fellow human being. I value freedom. I value freedom. I value personal expression. First Amendment. I don't take that away from me. I like to tell you what I think and what
Mhm.
I don't think. So these are values, but I don't believe that I have the right to use that right to express um, speech to defame you or defame anybody else.
Mhm.
I just don't believe that. I don't believe that some people should have the right to be able to walk in a certain area, and I don't have the right to walk in the same area. So these are the things that comes into question that we need to to take into account and try to address them in terms of the process of education. How we educate our community? How do we educate those folks around us? Look, the same privileges that you have, why not you believe that the next person should have those same exact privileges and rights? That's the whole question. Some people believe that you should have the right to tell somebody you can't come, but nobody has the right to tell you not to come. The same people who are telling you, look, you don't have the right to abortion. Those are the same people who are telling you, look, I am not wearing a mask to stop you from contracting COVID.
Yeah.
So where is the equity? Where is the balancing?
Yeah.
So these are the issues. We want to dictate what others do and put, rules and regulation in place, but you want none for yourself. And that is creating some serious fractures in our system and how we go about our human one-on-one relationships.
And that's the thing. So as you mentioned, the value that we place on compassion.
Yeah.
We are compassionate about our animals, or you say groups of people are compassionate, they put more compassion towards animals versus the lives of certain groups of people in our society. And that's an excellent example that you use. They spend almost half day trying to get, to rescue a dog. Yeah. And we've seen on the evening news,
we don't face them.
People of color are shot down in the street, and there's not one ounce of compassion that is administered to them. Yeah. Where is that nurturing feeling that you had towards that animal? Why cannot it be transferred to human beings who we should be valued? So it's an excellent point in talking about how our value actually function. And you go right back to love and family and that sense of community and that spirit of giving, where it should not just be to ourselves, or even just to the small group of people that we know, or people who look like us. Our human compassion should have no limits. But unfortunately, we live in a society where, for example, we saw, I'm going to go back to that point you made about January 6th. And should our compassion be extended to those individuals who have done such vicious acts, and now they're asking for compassion? So in terms of our limits, where we're saying, I can understand the confusion for many, where we're asking, and you explain it well. You said, I want my freedom, but I should not have the right to defame someone. I should be careful with that freedom that I have. I should be careful with those values that we hold dearly, and not kind of use it to chastise or create this inequity among ourselves. Where should our compassion lie? With people who, in their mind, they believe that they're extending their freedom, they're extending their rights, but now they're seeking mercy. Where should our compassion be in that area?
Well, you see, if you do the same things what they do, and it's wrong, you are just like them. So you cannot do the same thing. You have to use the higher calling that you have to overcome what they are doing. Because if you start doing the same thing like they are doing, you're just like them. So you would not get the results, the desired results that you need. You have to heap coals of fire upon the heads of your enemies. You have to do to them what they can conceive themselves of doing for somebody that they say it's a wow moment. Wow, I did not know that this could be done, because it's not within you, but it takes somebody to show it that this is a practical application here and we can get it done this way. So sometimes you have to take the hit to teach the lesson. Sometimes you have to really take the hit and teach a lesson, because the lesson is important to be taught. So sometimes you have to take the pain of it, but you have to do it anyway, because that's the only way you're going to achieve whatever you want to achieve out of it, or get whatever you want to get out of it.
Interesting. And that kind of lead us into, a mindful way to respond to racism, to colorism, to address some of the vile things in society, is simply through extending our compassion and not be like them, not be like the others. We should not let, because they have their limitations and their limits, we fall within that range of function. That's what you're telling us. And so it sounds to me that's a mindful way to respond to these vile things that are happening in our society. Yeah, do you agree with that?
Yes, but because it's about education. You can't legislate. I cannot legislate love. You can't legislate love, but you can educate people how to love. All right. So what we need to do is to let folks know, listen, this planet was not created by man. So there is no race that should have a monopoly. We are all here, given opportunity to be here. So we should share this planet the way that God intends it to be shared. So when you start letting people understand, and by the delivery of that message, and that message has to be delivered through modeling. You have to model it. You can't just verbalize it. You have to model it. And you model it and you show love. When you show love, is a force that cannot be denied. It cannot be denied. So you show people, look, these are stuff that is being done to my race for thousands of years. But we are here. Why do you think we are here? Why do you think we are still here after all the brutality and you look at what our forebears went through, coming through the Middle Passage, coming to this hemisphere. But they survived. They were protected and they're here. What you think you can take them out anymore? You can't. So what you need to do, have some understanding, because we all have purpose, right? We all have purpose. We have a purpose. And as we realize our purpose, we'll understand that, look, this is for all of us, and we have to learn to coexist, legislate what we can legislate, teach what we can teach, model what we can model, and practice what we can practice. When all that come together, we'll have a better world.
Excellent. And so, Errol, this is really amazing. I am enjoying this so much, and I'm not even watching the time anymore, because I feel like I need to do this with you again and come up with a new set of questions, because you are blowing my mind with some of you have a lot of stuff in there. And I really, truly am enjoying this conversation. So I have about 2 questions left. And one is, So I think I understand what motivates you, but is there someone? I know you're motivated by love. I know you're motivated through compassion and humanitarian giving and support and this, you know, this sense of togetherness. Those are some of your drives and motivation. And you can add all the other. This is what I'm gathering from what we're sharing so far. But is there a person, you know, if someone is watching and they, you know, a music, what inspires you in terms of or drives you? Someone that, you know, the Bible is one thing that you said, but is there a human being or a music, some type of lyric that motivates you, that you said, you know what, this is what I do to even push myself?
You know, I love music. Um, and there is a song that really kind of hit me. And you think about it, and it's a song by John Lennon, Imagine.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. And that's my favorite song.
Hmm.
Imagine. Imagine there is no heaven.
Yes.
You know, imagine there is no hell below us. So imagine that there is no extremes on either side.
Right. Yeah.
And we were on this level plane in between, not thinking either way.
Yeah.
What would that do to our existence as human beings?
Hmm.
Imagine there was no country to live or die for. Because
Hmm.
you see, these are the stratification that is put in place. You know, okay, you're an American, you're a Jamaican,
Yeah.
you are Asian, you are Dominican, you're white, you're black, you're brown. So all of these things are put there and it divides us. It never brings us together. You know, we have how many wars? Because, you know, some people want to grab land
Yeah.
or right and take over and rule. But imagine that, you know, everybody was given the opportunity to breathe oxygen freely
Hmm.
and live and enjoy, you know, the abundance of God's um, gift to us as mankind.
Hmm.
We never created these artificial things. What life would be? I keep thinking about it. Imagine these things were not here, limiting us. What would life be?
Yeah.
And that's a question I keep on asking myself, and there is no answer to it. There's no real answer to it.
And that's why we can only imagine. We can only imagine.
Yeah, we can only imagine it. You know, we can only imagine it. You know, and it, you know, when you go to, well, even in the United States, you're driving from one state to the next. You see just a sign. Oh, you're are welcome to this state.
Yeah.
But there is no real boundary there. You know, it's just a
Right.
artificial line created by man. Okay, in this area, it is Louisiana. In
Yeah.
that area, you know, so we create all of these artificial barriers because we want to be kings and
Yeah.
rulers
Uh-huh.
and that kind of stuff. So
Yeah.
these barriers are created by man to serve, you know, the ruling class. It's not to serve you, not to
Yeah.
serve me, not to serve all of us, but to serve a certain class of people. So the song Imagine is a very powerful, it's insightful, it's as you have said, it's imagine, you know, air out your mind, you
Right.
know, air out your mind.
This is I'm truly inspired by the depth of your intellect, and I'm hoping I can come back and we do this again, because now you've opened my mind to so many other questions that I want to ask you, especially about, we both are Jamaican. So
Yeah.
there's so many questions I would love to ask you about our country and the factors that that are, you know, playing out there. And I'm sure you'd have some very interesting stuff to tell us. And so I'm so grateful that I get a chance to talk to you. I mean, at this level, and I'm sure there's so much more that you can tell me and share with anyone that is that will view this video about life itself. It's truly inspirational, Errol. And I just want to thank you. But I want you to just summarize. I'm giving you a chance to. We've talked. You've shared so many things, and I learned so much from you. What are your final thoughts? You know, what do you want to summarize for us to take away from your philosophy? Because this is all philosophical. This is all deep, insightful, influential stuff. So, what do you want to take away from what you're saying?
Well, the takeaway, and thanks again for having me, Sonia. But the takeaway for me is it's about finding oneself. I know that you know, we are being bombarded with many messages day after day, and somehow sometimes it seems like we got lost, ourselves got lost in the maze. So it's finding ourselves and finding our purpose. Once we find ourselves and find our purpose, then I think life would there would be new meaning to life, you know. And you know, if you live without an understanding of life, we are just like a piece of paper that is moved by the wind,
Yeah.
and it hops down wherever the wind goes, that where it takes it.
Hmm.
But we have to find a purpose, and once we find our purpose in life, then we get anchored, and then we start focusing on those things that will make us better, and things that we can use to make our community and our world better, basically. So the takeaway is finding ourselves and using those tools to make our lives and community better.
That is such you know, very meaningful point, and ideas for us to live by. And again, I just want to thank Errol Kerr for joining us today. Again, this is 10-6 Life Factors. And I am truly inspired by your words, Errol, and I thank you for trusting me to do this interview, to ask you these questions, and for you to just provide these very insightful information to us. And I'm hoping that you'd come back and share again with us, because this has really been an eye-opening interview for me. Thank you, Errol Kerr.
Thank you, Sonia.